It's the Mike Nowak Show with Peggy Malecki. Green, gardening, and environment radio, flavored with a dash of humor. Welcome to intelligent, irreverent talk about plants and the planet they grow on. Your questions, comments, and participation are always welcome on Facebook and Instagram at The Mike Nowak Show and at Mike Now on Twitter.
Good planets are hard to find. Temperate zones and tropic climes. And true currents and thriving seas. Wind blowing through breathing trees. Strong ozone and safe sunshine. Well, good planets are hard to find. Good planets are in the man.
Brought to you by Bartlett Tree Experts. Every tree needs a champion. Go to bartlett.com.
Jet streams, perfect air.
And here they are, Peggy Malecki and Mike Nowak.
Well, good planets are in the main, right?
And there we go, and we can't do anything until we see Basil the dog and Lagata the cat.
They rule. They rule. They run our lives.
And Basil is ruling today, isn't he? Shh, be very, very quiet.
Just so long as none of those prime trucks come down the block, we'll be good.
And of course they do on Sundays as well.
Yes.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. I bet there's a bunch of people out there watching and saying, what do you think is going to happen today when they do the show? Well, we hope only good things, okay? That's what we're thinking. We're thinking that only good things are going to happen. Yes. Exactly.
We're ready.
Are we ready for that? I don't have my my other one, my Christmas, but I do have.
Shut up, Wesley.
If we want, okay, we can.
That contributes to it, yeah.
But we could also have.
I like kale, and I don't care what you think.
All right, there you go. And that actually
kale.
That plays into our show very well today because we're talking food. And by the way, do you like our new little look here? This is because, okay, after last week, and as those of you who are regular followers of the show, thank you for your patience. And I have to thank the alder critters, Michelle Smith and Scott Wagasback, who came back and visited with us on Tuesday. We had a special conversation about recycling in Chicago. And if you haven't seen it, you should go. It actually got picked up by Waste Dive, which is a publication about those kinds of issues, waste and recycling. And they quoted some of the things that the Alder folks said on our program last Tuesday. So last Sunday, of course, we had a complete technical meltdown, and I just pulled the plug. I said, you know what?
Crash and burn.
I am not going through this. My blood pressure was somewhere up there. And I said, nope. We're just going to shut that down. And in the interim, I'll have you know, we have contacted the powers that be, which is the folks who run this software, and they gave us this advice. They said, well, have you tried clicking here and here? And I looked at it and I said to Kathleen, I said, they should have told us that 2.5 months ago. Why didn't they give us that connection 2.5 months ago? Because everything seems to be working a lot better now that they did that. So I'm just knocking on the table here and hoping that, in fact, let's bring this down. We don't need to see that much up there. There we go. And so I've got our split screen here because my response, of course, is not to scale back and go, well, let's just try to get through the show. No, my response is to have as many people, exactly, la da 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 da.
We do jazz hands.
Yes.
That's it.
Okay, jazz hands. And have as many people on the show as I possibly can to see if we can just make the whole thing crash one more time. So
is that why you're drinking tea and not coffee this morning?
That's why I'm drinking tea and not coffee because, well, yeah, and it's herbal tea. Just so I just calm. It's chamomile. Chamomile and just calm everything down because I'm already so excited to have these wonderful guests on the show and just so excited to talk today. So let's do that. Let's bring in the magic screen, and I have no idea whether this will work. We'll give it a go. Holy smoke.
Wow.
Look at that.
It worked.
Ooh, everything is there. Even us with the double screen up in the corner, which you asked me about. Well, how do we get up there? I said, I don't know. I guess I'll figure it out. And there we are. Welcome, folks, to a very badly needed conversation, if you ask me, about food and serving it, our restaurants, our food providers, the folks who make us happy by running taverns, and what the heck are they going to do this winter as things get colder? I mean, it's just started now. If you were out last night, there were some flurries here in the city. Some people have gotten snow already. Rick DeMaio will be on later in the show, our meteorologist, to talk about that. But what that means for the restaurant business is not good right now anywhere in the country. So we decided to talk about what's happening in Chicago and bring in a couple of friends of the show. Up in the upper right-hand corner, as you can see, is Michael Cameron. He's the co-owner and founder of Uncommon Ground Restaurant. Actually, restaurants with an S. There are a couple of them, one in Lakeview, one in Edgewater. Michael, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Good. It's nice to see you on an early Sunday morning.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess I'm not sure how often you're up this early. I don't know. I get the feeling if you run a restaurant, you're up 24/7, pretty much, aren't you?
Yeah, we're usually night people. It's been a definite change. So, I got a big pot of coffee going here. So,
Everybody's
cheers.
got the coffee except me. Although I from a friend of mine, I do have a piece of Kringle. So this is going to be my breakfast. Yeah, it's raspberry Kringle. Thanks to my friend Jackie Krupka, who is one of my carolers. And believe it or not, I was out caroling last night with masks. We're all masks and social distance and out in the cold. Nobody's going indoors for anything. It's a weird year to be a performer. And that's it. That's the other thing, because you guys have performers at your restaurants. That has been put on hold. Everything's been put on. We'll get to that question about what's happened and where we're going with it. But let's go to our second guest in the lower left, and that's Michael Roper. And he is the owner of Hopleaf Bar in Chicago since 1992. And I have a confession to make, Michael. Oh, by the way, good morning. How are you?
Good morning.
Um,
Things are good.
Great. Well, they are. And we're going to compare a couple of things here because Michael Cameron runs the two restaurants. They've decided they're going to gut it out through the winter. You run Hopleaf Bar or Tavern, whichever you call it, and you've decided the better course of valor is to shut down now and get back when things are closer to normal. Is that right?
Yep. We have basically decided to mothball Hopleaf as long as it takes for things to be safe again.
Yeah. And I have a confession to make, which is when you started it, I was living about 6 doors down on Foster Avenue. And I frequently came to the bar, and and having a theater background, a lot of the theater folks used to go to the bar as well, as you know, and still do probably. I've moved since then to Logan Square, but Hopleaf was one of my favorite establishments in the neighborhood. It's really a terrific place. And then I came back a few years ago, and I went, "Holy smoke! You guys have really expanded. You went from a simple bar, and you added food and a back room and patio and a lot of stuff, didn't you?"
Yep, we went from 60 seats to 269.
Wow.
Okay. All right. So that's Michael Roper. And then finally, in the lower right-hand corner, and we tried to get the vMix to work. It was not really doing it for us. So I swore I was never going to try to go to the Skype again, but here we are. And in the lower right-hand corner, we've got a photo of our friend Marty Travis from Spence Farm, which is a 160-acre small organic farm in Fairbury, Illinois. Marty, are you with us?
Hey, Mike, I am. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you
Yep.
okay. I'm going to try something. Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. Every once in a while, I might mute you because there's some weird sounds coming
Yeah,
back.
there's this garbly sound coming in.
Yeah, it's sort of a weird Skype connection, but at least I know where it's coming from right now. So, Marty, thank you for being patient with us and for going. That was Plan C, I believe, this morning.
But it worked.
But it worked, and we've got you on the Skype, and we had Marty on the show right at the end of August, talking about the down at the farm, which is a consortium of farmers that you put together where you were delivering food to Chicago. That has spun off into a couple of local operations. Tell us a little bit about it, Marty.
Well, we historically, for the last 17 years, supplied restaurants with produce from our farm and about 50 other small farms here in central Illinois. We are acting as an aggregator and marketer, delivery, all of that. And when the shutdown happened, we went from 35 restaurants down to 3 the next week. But in that same week, yeah, in a week.
In a week.
But we also then switched to being able to take to 150 individuals that same week. And that saved our butts. And so now it was super hard to do that for 2 months just in packaging and all those things. So we developed a relationship with Village Farm Stand that was created there in Evanston. And now they take product in bulk, divided into individual orders, and are doing the retail side. But we've got probably 3 or 4 other folks doing the same kind of thing, which has helped tremendously.
So
yeah, Marty, are you at Dose Farm Stand as well in Chicago?
Marty, you also created Dose Farm Stand, right?
That's right. Yep. Working with Dose Urban Cantina, they're now a second location in the city. We also work with Urban Canopy, Star Farm, Good Juice. Harvest OG is a new operation on the south side. So there's many options that we now have, in addition to still taking care of our restaurants.
Well, what I need you to do, because I was only aware of the 2, Village Farm Stand, which is in Evanston, and Dose Farm Stand, which is in the city of Chicago, you need to get me a list of all of those folks you're working with so that we can post it so that folks can know this is where they can go to get the freshly grown produce and other products from the farms with whom you work. So
you bet.
When we're done with this, you got to get me that list, and we will definitely post it. All right, so that's sort of our introduction here to the folks on board. So let us start with you, Michael, because I've known you the longest. You've been around for about as long as Michael Roper has been around, but you started, you had one restaurant, then you started the other restaurant. And what has it been like during this pandemic? I should mention that you go back a ways with the farm to table movement. You're one of the people who are pretty much in on it from the get-go.
Yeah, one of the pioneers.
Right, and you brew your own beer. You have a rooftop, first organic rooftop farm in the country. Great stuff like that. But the pandemic spares no one, does it?
No, it certainly doesn't. And it's been difficult. I think Michael and I opened our operations around the same time. On July 1st of 2021, we're going to be operating our Lakeview location for 30 years. And the Edgewater location just had its 13-year anniversary, and the brewery is now 6 years old. And, one of the saving graces to talk about the farm real quick is that when we were completely shut down and, both restaurants and the brewery were basically, turn the lights off and wait and see what we were going to do, the rooftop farm, those plants and those vegetables and those herbs and those lettuce greens don't really wait. So that gave us a really nice, get outside and do some things during a pandemic up on the rooftop farm when we could be all by ourselves. So we kept our rooftop farm manager fully employed the whole time. And it was great because she could bring her daughter up there with her and dig in the dirt and maintain, because we knew we would be opening at some point in time, and we needed to be ready to harvest all of that for the restaurant. So we were a little ahead of schedule this year because we had about a 30-day complete shutdown, and stuff kept growing. So we had a nice big harvest when we got the restaurants open again.
So you did reopen, and summer was actually a really good time. Late spring, early summer, people could sit outside. How long did it take you to ramp up to something like that?
Well, we're fortunate in that we own the entire property at our Edgewater location. And so we took over the entire parking lot, spent a small fortune on tents and heaters and fire tables and all of that. And we were able to keep our overall capacity outside because we had so much property that our tables were all like 8, 10, 12 feet apart. And we were still able to get about 100 people outside. So we were very fortunate the weather cooperated with us this summer, and we were pretty busy, especially in the months of July, August, and even into September. And, we invested in those heaters, and people have been sitting outside all the way up until, we even had a few tables outside, even with snow flurries under the tents. But, it obviously, those sales have dropped dramatically. I think we're probably at that location down to about 20% of our normal income. And at our Lakeview location, our first restaurant, we have a 20-foot sidewalks out in front, and it took us about 3 months. But with the help of the Chamber of Commerce here, we were able to expand that sidewalk cafe, again with tents and heaters over every table. And so at least for the last couple months of the summer and going into the fall, we were able to seat about 60 people outside. And even last night, again, 32 degrees with flurries coming down. I think we had 8 or 10 tables out there the whole time we were open for dinner. So, the community has been very supportive of us. And without their support, we definitely wouldn't make it. But we are going to do our best to hang on and limp along through the winter months with carry out and delivery. And every now and then, people want to come out and sit outside for the novelty of it, maybe with a blanket and a winter coat under a heater and have their hot cocoa or their spiked coffee drink and, say that they were able to sit outside a little bit.
And one of the things you've had to do is really cut back on staff, isn't it?
Yeah, that's been really heartbreaking for us. Traditionally, in the peak of our season, we have about 150 employees between the two restaurants, and right now that we're down to about just under 20 full-time employees. So that is really heartbreaking, and that we had to cut that many people down. And now there's, for us, 130 employees that would normally be working for us, at least part-time, to go down to that small amount. It's really tough. But we're going to hang in there, and they all know that they've got a job when we can open up inside again. And when we get in, hopefully into the spring, summer months of 2021, we're really hoping that we can ramp back up and have a busy spring summer.
That's Michael Cameron, who is with Uncommon Ground. And so here we are. You're going to try to gut your way through it, but Michael Roper, you decided that you couldn't make that happen. What is your plan of action, which is different from what Michael Cameron is doing?
So we're hibernating, and like I said, we're kind of mothballing the place. We only have 9 outdoor tables, and so it we did okay in the summer with that, but a lot of people, being safe, were trying to only go out with people in their household. So we had 9 tables, and often we only had 18 people out there because it was all couples. And we have a big operation normally, and to be open with only 18 customers, even though we were turning the tables pretty much every hour, it really wasn't enough to make it worthwhile. So we've decided to, shut everything off. And unfortunately, we have laid all of our employees off. When we were open this summer, we had brought back about 28 of our 65 employees. But now we've had, for the second time this year, to lay off everybody.
Yeah.
And,
But Michael, you've started a winter fund GoFundMe though for your
Yes,
employees?
we have, and it's been really successful. We've been able to do 2 disbursements to staff from that fund, and we did a little disbursement last week, and it's very helpful. These people are, a lot of them, it's they don't have any other income at all, and it's tough for me, but it's really tough for them. They have to pay rent. Some of them have families. It's a catastrophe because there's not a lot of extra help for them right now.
How all right, it's one thing to do a GoFundMe, but really that's not going to keep you going. What is the situation in terms of the help from the government? We're coming to the end of that. Did you get some of that, and are you planning to get more of it?
So we got PPP money in the beginning. That's long gone. We spent that paying the payroll during the summer, and we have applied for other programs, and we're awaiting the answer on some of these things. There's lots more that the government could do, and some of the things that they could do don't even cost the taxpayer any money. We did expand over the years, so we have some construction loans. We do own our building, so we have a mortgage. It would be very helpful if the government would step in and say to the banks, why don't you, make that 20-year construction loan a 21-year loan and have a gap year in payments? And that would help a lot of places to survive. And same with mortgage. You take that 20-year mortgage, make it a 21-year mortgage. The bank gets all their money, but that 1 year, that gap year, would be so helpful in helping us to survive. It's those fixed costs that drag us down. And we've done a pretty good job of eliminating almost every fixed cost in order to be closed. And, we're prepared to be closed until April. Maybe maybe we'll be able to open earlier if the vaccine, tamps it down so that, the infection rate goes way down. That's what we hope. And then we can hire people back and get back to what we do best.
Yeah. And we're going to get back to that subject because there's still a lot more to say about uh, the to close, not to close. Will there be any help from any government agency at this point? But I want to bring in Marty because this, it seems to me, adds another layer of concern to you because early on, as you said, you went from what was it, 30 customers to 3 overnight, and now you've got a different situation where some restaurants are starting to close because they just can't make it through the winter. Um, and is that changing the equation for you, especially at a time when farmers are not growing as much?
Well, Mike, it pains me in some ways to say this. I mean, I am just heartbroken by the stress that a lot of our chef and restaurant friends are having to experience. On our side of things, we have dramatically had the best year ever in 17 years. Our sales are solid. The restaurants that seem to have pivoted to do takeout and offer other things have seemingly done well. Most of our major accounts are off, probably doing only 20-30% of what they would typically do. But not only now are we representing farmers, but in the last few months, we've started to represent chefs so that basically we're selling product to our chefs. They're creating take and bake or take home, and I'm offering that on the list to all of the retail customers who can't go to, those restaurants and have a sit-down meal, or may not be able to travel to the city because we've got a whole population, a community of folks downstate that we deliver to each week. So like last week, I sold thousands of dollars worth of chef products in addition to all of the farmers' produce and proteins. And we've been delivering that and trying to bring in at least some sense of revenue for some of our chefs and keep them at least, in a positive state of mind as best we can.
I'm kind of fascinated by the idea that, and this is something that we heard before, Peggy and I, earlier in the year, that some farms were doing very well, but you're saying that generally the farms you're working with have done exceedingly well this year.
At the end of the third quarter, we had surpassed all of our sales for last year, which was our best year ever.
Wow.
Oh my goodness. So here we are. Here's the yin and the yang of the pandemic with the restaurants. Michael has to close Hopleaf now just to get through and hope he can get through. Michael's going to be gutting it out through the winter, hoping folks will support them. And we'll talk about how they can, what are the important ways to support you. And yet here you are working, Marty, with these farmers who have done well. And obviously, does this mean, and we just have like a minute and then we're going to break, are we looking at a paradigm shift in the way farmers plan, Marty?
Yes, absolutely. We are working with all of our farmers to not just reimagine, but recreate this food system in a way that is equitable, efficient, and we're trying to bring this model and fashion it across the country with the relationships between farmers and chefs and consumers.
Wow. All right, that's fascinating. I'm sure that one of the things Michael Cameron and I talked the other day, and he said, I'm really interested to talk to Marty because there might be some things I can learn. I got a feeling you guys are going to be having some kind of dialogue.
There's
here.
a meeting coming up soon,
yeah,
yes.
I sense that.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, let's talk about that. What you can learn from
Yeah.
Marty, and Marty, what Marty can learn from you, Michael, and
And the village farm stand market concept.
yeah, and all of that. It's the Mike Nowak Show with Peggy Malecki. We're talking food and the winter and pandemic, and we'll have more when we return.
You can reduce your household garbage 30% by the simple act of composting. But I live in a condo or an apartment, you say. Well, if you're in the Chicago area, contact Collective Resource Compost. They give you a fresh 5-gallon bucket or a 32-gallon neighbor tote if you're working with your community. You fill it with food scraps, they swap it out on a regular schedule, and voila! You're returning organic matter back to the soil instead of creating harmful methane in a landfill. Go to collectiveresource.us. They make composting easy.
At this time of year, we spend a lot of time indoors with our
Hey,
plants.
Mike, if you're
so help
still
them
hearing
thrive.
me,
The
I'm
plants
not
you're viewing were
hearing any
treated with
of the other
Leafzyme,
guests.
a foliage spray designed to activate beneficial microbes already present on the leaves. A spritz every few weeks promotes growth-enhancing microorganisms that process dust and other particles into nutrition that indoor plants can absorb through their leaves for beautiful and vigorous growth. Go to blazing-star.com and check out their BioGarden line for home gardeners.
Hello from Happy Leaf. This is BJ Miller, the horticulturist here on staff. Now that we've put away our gardens for the winter, it's time to start indoor gardening. The best way we can help you be successful with indoor gardening is to provide you with a really great grow light. There are a lot of choices on the market, and it can be extremely confusing to decide what you need. Our goal here at Happy Leaf is to provide you with a light that lasts a very long time and makes your plants really happy. We have several satisfied customers, including our friends Mike Nowak and Peggy Malecki, because we have specifically designed a light that is versatile, it's very effective, and it is extremely simple to use. Our lights are perfect for seed starting, but you can do so much more, especially these months of the winter. You can supply yourself with your own leafy greens and herbs, grow lots of different types of vegetables, keep your small fruit trees thriving, and your houseplants will think you've sent them for a day at the spa.
Thief! Alan! Thief! Alan!
Shut up, Wesley.
All right.
All right, we're bringing the classics back.
Yeah, I had to bring that. Thanks to Randall, who's no longer working with us, but he put that together many years ago.
Yeah, well, while you're spinning the dials there,
Yep.
McHenry County College's Center for Agrarian Learning continues to create opportunities for folks to learn about growing food and working with the earth. In January, Atina Diffley, organic vegetable farmer and author of the award-winning memoir, Turn Here Sweet Corn, Organic Farming Works, will be presenting 2 workshops of 2 sessions each. Both feature valuable skills for new and established farmers. The first is record keeping made easier, strategies and systems, on January 13th and 20th. The second is crop planning for market needs and profitability on January 27th and February 3rd. And as part of your registration, you'll receive either the Wholesale Success Manual or Direct Market Success Manual, an $80 value. Both are published by Family Farmed, which is also supporting these workshops. By the way, if the name Atina Diffley sounds familiar, she's been a guest on our show and she knows her stuff. So go to mchenry.edu/CAL to find more information. That's mchenry.edu/CAL. By the way, I'm holding up Marty's book for.
Tell us, Marty,
It's,
tell us about your book, all right?
Sure. So every year we come up at the week, our last delivery week is usually the week before Christmas, and then we take the week of Christmas and New Year's off. So a couple years ago, I just decided that I was going to write a book in that 2 weeks. And that's a book that you're probably showing and called My Farmer, My Customer. And it's kind of a relational book for farmers, but also people that eat, to understand each other's world a little bit better. And Acres USA has published it, and it's finding its way across the world, it sounds like. I've got a interview to do next week with a farming association in Australia, and they've been featuring the book for the last month or so. So that's been fun.
And Marty just spoke at the Acres Eco Ag Conference last week, I believe.
Yeah, you spoke at the Acres Eco Ag Conference last week.
Yep, I did that, and doing an essay for them presently for next week. And I think we had like 350 folks show up for that presentation.
And I'm this is very interesting because you talk about a paradigm shift with farmers. Meanwhile, you're talking to farmers all over the world. I see that you've done this in Kuwait and Brazil as well as the United States.
Yep. There's a huge interest in understanding how best to make food available direct from farmers, and how farmers can play a major role in the health of our communities.
And it's obviously necessary all over the world, especially during times of a pandemic. Let's get back to the subject of to close or not to close a restaurant, because something you sent me the other day is very interesting, Michael Cameron, from a friend of yours who works with the Illinois Restaurant Association. And he's there. Let's say there's a dichotomy here, isn't there, Michael? There's some people think we have to keep. What is the dichotomy here? Because I'm going to get myself messed up here. But you and your friend who's T.J. Callahan don't see eye to eye, and how is that?
Well, no, I think we agree on a lot in regards to keeping our restaurants open, and I think we agree on more than we disagree on. I think, when you're a member of the Illinois or the National Restaurant Association, they're, a pretty big, powerful lobbying group, and there's a lot of people in that organization that are lobbying to get restaurants to open indoors again.
That's it.
25,
yes.
50%. And I think Michael, Roper and I are of the mind, Michael closed completely. We never reopened indoors at all. We just felt it was, when we saw the numbers ticking up, we just didn't really feel it was safe. I've got regular customers that are emergency room doctors and nurses that live in the neighborhoods of both of my restaurants. And so when this started really popping back in March and April of this year, we reached out to those people and asked, you're on the front line, tell us what you think. And they asked us, they said, look, we'll support you. We'll order carry out delivery. We'll come pick stuff up. We'll come get growlers of beer. Please don't open your restaurant indoors. We're just seeing too many people getting very sick and too many people dying. And you get people inside in an enclosed space, even with proper ventilation. And, you have a cocktail or two and your inhibitions are down and you forget to put your mask on. And before you know it, you're getting all of the people around you infected, and if you know you have COVID or not. And so we decided, let's power through with outdoor only. I think where TJ and I very much agree on is that, this fighting at the federal level in regards to another round of some type of support, we really need that. All of the restaurants really need that to survive. And, any type of stimulus package right now, whether it be anywhere near what the last one was or even half of that, would be a game changer, I think, for a lot of restaurants to be able to either A, hibernate and pay their mortgage or pay their rent and pay their employees, or B, keep the restaurant open and bring employees back and get them on some form of payroll so that they can pay their rent and stay viable within their own communities economically. And I told you earlier, when we have 130 of our employees out of work, that's 130 people that aren't out there spending money and
Hmm.
shopping for the holidays and also going out and eating or drinking or having carry out delivery. So it's very frustrating at our level to see that the federal government is having fights between parties when they should be getting to the table and supporting the people that put them in office. And we need it right now. I mean, there's no more waiting around. We need help right now. We need to get some type of grant or PPP money to get our employees back to work and to keep our restaurants open.
Yeah, yeah. That money does need to come from the federal government because the states can't do it. The states are strapped, and I know you don't want to be political, but that's why you have a radio show host here who can say there was a 2.2 trillion dollar package on the tables 4 months ago. Then there was a whatever the compromise 1.5 trillion. We know who are the obstructionists on this, okay? And they're not the
Oh yeah,
Democrats. It's not the Democrats. All right. They they
right.
they wanted to save restaurants. They wanted to save businesses. They wanted to get this money out into people's pockets so they could spend it, and it ain't happened because of the other side. Let's be simple and clear about this. All right. Do you, Michael Roper, not the political side, but the physical side of that? Obviously, you agree because you shut down. You just decided that it's too dangerous. And speaking, and Peggy will agree because Peggy and I have talked a lot about this over the past few months. When I walk into a store, and I don't do it very often, there's I can hear tick, 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 tick going on in my head, which is I got a few minutes to be in here, and then I got to get the heck out because I'm just aware that the longer you're inside, the more danger you're in, the bigger risk you're taking. And obviously, Michael Roper, you felt that way too.
Well, yeah. Here's the thing that I gave a lot of thought to is that when people come to a restaurant or a bar or a cafe, um, that allows you to have a table of 4 or 6, 8, even 10 people.
You can reduce your
I'm
household
sorry.
garbage 30%
Sorry, that's my fault. Sorry. I had the wrong thing up there. I got a little careless, got a little lazy. Let's go back.
That's okay.
Okay, let's go back to you. Start
We're
that.
missing.
Yes, there we go.
So the thing is, it's very unlikely that all those people live together. So if you have 4 or 6, 8 people at a table, they're coming from different households. And no matter how far apart we keep the tables, and the fact that our staff are wearing masks and gloves and all those things, those people sitting at that table together are taking their masks off to eat and drink and talk. And they are only like 2 feet apart. They are right next to each other. And they're not from the same household. And we saw this over and over and over. We saw people getting together who clearly hadn't seen each other in a while because they were all like, very happy to see each other and everything. And, it just popped into my head. These people are not from the same pod. They are gathering from different pods. And this is an ideal method to spread a virus.
Mm-hmm.
So unless you only allowed 2 tops in your restaurant, you are going to be part of the problem. And in fact, the majority of the parties that we were serving were couples, and that was a problem in as far as profitability. So you have, all these 4 top tables, but you only have 2 tops at most of them. But occasionally a party of 6 comes in, a party of 4, a party of 7. And when that happens, that's a opportunity for the virus to spread.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me go to Marty. You didn't hear most of this, unfortunately, but we're talking about how careful the restaurant and bar owners have had to be keeping people away from COVID. One thing I'm going to point out, and you and Michael, you guys have seen this, is as you say, Michael Roper, people get careless, and then they do dumb things like they wear the mask below the nose, and sometimes I just want to whoop these people upside the head and say, that's not how you do this, okay? And then, of course, there's the people who would just refuse to wear a mask, and I can understand you being concerned because obviously you don't want people saying, well, I got sick at that establishment when I went in there. And Marty, I guess I'm going to ask you, farmers work outdoors, but you've also had to bring your goods into the city, and you've got these operations. Have you been concerned about safety of your people?
Absolutely. From the beginning, we've asked our farmers when they deliver to the farm, to our farm, to wear masks, to have gloves, to take great care not to have more than one farmer in a cooler putting their product in at a time. And then when we deliver, I usually have one of the other farmers riding with me, and he's been with me all through this year. We're masked. We pretty much at this point are trying to get most all of our restaurants to where we can just drop outside their door, so we're not even going into the restaurants as much as possible. And then when we're back into the truck, before, we'll open the door and we've got our sanitizer. We sanitize our hands and then take the next restaurant delivery. So there's a process that we go through. It's just, we've got to be really careful because, we're going in between those places too. But I have to say, overall, I'm relatively comfortable with the care that we're taking and the distance and all of those precautions. That doesn't mean that we're totally immune by any stretch, but at least I feel like we're doing our due diligence as best as we can.
Well, that takes us to the idea that the vaccines are starting to be rolled out. And I think the problem with that, because of our 24/7 coverage and every day you hear something about it, and Monday, I guess, it's actually going to really start happening. The problem is we're not going to have these for months and months and months, and we're in the darkest part of the winter, which gets us to, Michael Cameron, your difficulty in getting through right now. What are your plans to get through, and how is it that you want people to support you, but there are ways that they should do it? For instance, you and I talked the other day, and I mentioned an article that some of you might have seen in the Chicago Tribune about restaurants that decided they were going to offer Thanksgiving meals, and then got overwhelmed. They had 10 times as many as they thought they would have, that sort of thing. And what that shows is, if you're getting all of your business on one day, it's good, but that doesn't really help, does it, Michael Cameron?
Right. Yeah. Well, it's funny. I have these conversations with my management and front of the house and back of the house staff about, we're in the business of hospitality, right? And so when you're in a pandemic and you're doing 20% or 40% of what you would normally do, you cut your staff way down, and then you ask the community to support you. And we were very fortunate. I sent an email out to our mailing list. I think we've got like 20,000 people on our mailing list. And that next day, or even the day that I sent the email out, I mean, we were literally overwhelmed by carry out and delivery orders at a level that we had not seen since the start of the pandemic, which was fantastic. I mean, amazing. We are so happy and pleased that our community supported us at that level. But it was oh man,
Michael, I have to admit that this is why you're on the show. I got that email.
Yeah.
And I
got the email too.
And Peggy got the email.
Yeah.
And we said, Uncommon Ground says they need help. So let's see
Right.
what we can do. So they all responded at once, and you go, great, but
Right. Yeah.
Then the
I
next
actually
day,
sent out a thank you to a lot of people saying, hey, that was great. Keep it going. you know, Instead of 100 orders on a Saturday night, it'd be great to see 20 orders on weeknights, of people that are supporting us. So a lot of people are doing that. I'm very fortunate that we actually own our own organic brewery here as well. It's right at the restaurant, and so we're offering really deep discounts on howlers and growlers to go. The 3 days leading up to Thanksgiving, we did a 50% off discount and sent that out to our mailing list.
Mhm.
I had bartenders at both restaurants all of those days from the time we open until the time we close filling growlers and howlers, which is amazing because we have a lot of
and
beer to sell, and beer is a fresh
that's one of
organic
the
product.
growlers behind you.
Yeah, I've got my little display back here to say, we're doing fun stuff. We did a limited edition release where I partnered with Koval and Metropolis because
Okay.
they're both certified organic as well. We did a
Mhm.
coffee and whiskey infused stout that we released yesterday. So, just sending that email out, all of those people are rolling in and buying 2 and 4 and 6 packs of this to give away to their friends and family for holiday gifts and things like that. So this will probably go very fast. But because we have howlers and growlers that we can sell because of our license, we've got everything all packed up and ready to go. And you can choose from 12 different organic beers. And that's the best way to support us right now because, we brew our own beer and come on in, get a growler and a howler. There's my advertising pitch.
and you're allowed to do that. That's why we said we were going to help you. So this is one way we can help you is by doing this. Um, do you have the capacity to make enough beer? Let's say people come out of the
Oh
woodwork
yeah.
and say, so you're good on that. All right. And the other
I've kept
thing,
my brewer on full time. So he's still working full time out of the brewery. He actually just brewed a couple days ago. I said, look, let's take advantage of this time. Let's do a limited edition bomber release. Let's look into other potential opportunities with distribution or canning. So I said, we're going to have a lot of free time on our hands. So let's work, chaos presents opportunity. So let's try to figure out other ways we can develop some other revenue streams for the brewery because we're a 7-barrel brew house, which is we brew 14 kegs at a time, and I have 12 handles of that many kegs, so I have a lot of beer
Mhm.
to sell. So when people ask me what they can do, I'm like, well, you could carry out delivery, you could buy gift cards for your friends and family, or you could every time you come in
Buy
for an order
beer.
pick up a couple of growlers or howlers of beer and take that, put it in your fridge and bring the growler back. We recycle them here for our folks, and it's just a great way to keep our name in everybody's refrigerator.
but as we said, the winter hasn't even started officially, um, and
Yeah.
and Christmas will be done in 2 weeks, and
Hmm.
you will need a steady stream of revenue. So one of the things that I got out of the email you sent was, if you're going to support us, and we really want you to support us, could you see if you could do it on a regular basis? That will really help, won't it?
Right, absolutely. So I've talked to a lot of our regular customers in the neighborhood, and they've all said, "Hey, we're ordering from you like once or twice a week," and we're talking about for the whole family. And we have a lot of regular customers in both communities where I'll see an order come in, and I'm like, "Oh my God, that's somebody just placed a $250 order because they bought some hats and some T-shirts and they bought some
Mhm.
pint glasses." They're finding all the kinds of ways that they see our merchandise on our website just to do bag stuffers to support us at a level that normally we might not be supported at. So that's really the key is, carry out and delivery used to be 10, maybe on a good week, 15% of our overall revenue. Very soon, as you see these temperatures dipping into the low 30s or maybe even 20s, it's going to be 100% of our business.
Ah,
And so, that becomes a really tough scenario. And we can only scale down so much to turn the lights on and to serve people well still. So, we're kind of at that bare bones rock bottom minimum right now. So we're just trying to get more people to order carry out delivery as the weather gets colder.
Yeah.
And of course, you're not alone. There's a lot of places in the city that have exactly the same problem. So
And,
if
and
it
suburbs.
and suburbs and
Oh, yeah.
across the nation. So if you have a favorite restaurant that you don't want to go out of business, you don't want to see go out of business, figure out if there is a way you can support them on a regular basis somehow. Michael Roper, you're shut down. How can people support you?
Well, we are shut down, but via our social media and our website, we have been doing some little things to bring some money in. Selling bottles of wine from our inventory, selling gift cards, selling glassware, things like that. So it's a very small revenue stream, but whenever we do post something on our social media or put it on the website, the customers come out. They really want us to survive, and so there are little ways in the meantime, while we're closed, that people can help us. And then, we hope that as we do reopen again, whenever that is, that people, really, really come out and support us then, because we have a big catch up to do.
Yeah.
It's going to take, it's not like you turn the faucet on and it's going to be all wonderful again. It could take us 2 years to recover from this after the pandemic ends.
At least.
That's what people aren't, maybe aware of, is that, we have deferred a lot of payments. But when the pandemic ends, we're going to have to start paying more to make up for that. So, people need, when the pandemic ends, we hope that people, really, really make an extra effort to support places they like. Because
Yeah.
I think you're going to find some places are going to go out of business a year from now
Yeah.
because of the pandemic. Because
That's a really
they
good
borrowed
point.
money
The debt
to
they're
stay
carrying.
open.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Yeah.
that's really good to keep in mind, is that when places come back, they're going to be under the gun. So you don't
Yeah.
relax. If you're a customer, you don't relax in 6 months or 8 months or a year when things
Yeah.
start to approach normalcy.
Habits have changed too,
Yeah.
and we want people to get back in the habit of coming out again. And we're a little nervous that some of the habits have changed.
Well, yeah,
And,
I think people are going to have in their heads for a long time, it's scary to be indoors, and I think that is something that you guys are going to have to fight. That's going to be tricky. We just have a couple of minutes here, so I want to wrap up with Marty. And Marty, so how is it that folks can support the farmers you're working with? Obviously, going to those establishments like Village Farm Stand that have been set up. What do you have in mind?
Well, it's not just us as farmers in our group. I just feel like it's important for all of us to support farmers, the restaurants that support the farmers, every opportunity that we can really dial in and purchase things locally, and really understand that our dollars make a huge difference in how we spend them and where we spend them. It's hugely important. And if we're going to keep our communities strong, we need to invest in those communities with our, not just our words, but also our dollars. And that's my hope that we can all do that.
Fantastic. It's a great way to wrap it up. What I'm going to do, Marty, I'm going to connect you and Michael Cameron, because you didn't really have that dialogue going today that we wanted, unfortunately. But your contribution, Marty, has been wonderful nonetheless. And Michael Cameron at Uncommon Ground, Michael Roper at Hopleaf, I'm wishing you all the success in the world as we go through the winter. The two of you, please stay in touch. Marty, obviously, I want you to stay in touch with me as well. We're going to be following up on this as we go through, because I think come February, people are going to want to know, how's it been? How you guys doing? What does the future look like right now? Who knows what could change by then? So thank you all for being here today.
Thanks,
Thank
Mike.
you.
All right, it's the Mike Nowak Show with
Thank you.
Peggy Malecki. When we come back, we're talking solar energy. Boy, just lots of fun here today. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Vic Nakashima with Bartlett Tree Experts. Let me ask you something. Have you ever considered having a professional arborist prune your trees? You and your trees would benefit from it, and I can show you why. Follow me. One of the more common reasons for pruning is the removal of dead branches. Now, in truth, with a little help from the wind, a branch like this would simply break off and fall on its own, but in a very uncontrolled way. And a branch this size falling from this height could be a very serious hazard. Our team of arborists, through pruning, will ensure that these branches make it to the ground in a safe way. Stand clear. All clear. When necessary, we can use ropes and rigging gear to control branches once they're cut, protecting anything of value that might lie below. You'll notice that when a branch simply breaks off on its own, it usually leaves behind a stub. And it seems harmless enough, but this is actually now an impediment to the tree's natural process to close over that wound. By making a precision cut, an experienced arborist can expedite that process, shielding this site from pests and decay. When these lateral branches grow too long, they can actually become too heavy and break. But we know how to prune to reduce the weight and almost eliminate this risk. And we can also prune them to make sure that they don't contact your house, while still keeping the tree's health and beauty intact. Stand clear? All clear. Worried about your tree blowing over in the wind? We can selectively remove live branches so that strong winds will pass through your tree's canopy more easily. You know, hazard reduction is important, but pruning can also provide harmony to your landscape. These lower branches are blocking the sun and shading out this garden, and the lawn is suffering as well. By pruning these branches, we can raise the crown and achieve the goal of sunlight. It may surprise you to know that Bartlett Tree Experts also specializes in the pruning of ornamentals. There's a lot to consider when you're pruning a tree like this, and we do it every day. So, whether it's fruit trees, shrubs, young trees, or mature, Bartlett Tree Experts can provide all your pruning needs.
Welcome to the Mike Nowak Show with Peggy Malecki. Green, gardening, and environment radio with just a soupçon of humor. Or is that a dash? Brought to you by Bartlett Tree Experts. Every tree needs a champion. Go to bartlett.com. Here they are again, Peggy Malecki and Mike Nowak.
All I need is good food to eat and make me healthy, wealthy, wide awake. Lettuce, tomatoes, rutabaga. What about those sweet potatoes? All I need is good food to eat. All I need is good food to eat. All I need is good tools to make me music.
And welcome back to the show. I
got more room to stretch now, I see.
Yeah, and there's a camera. There's Lisa Albrecht.
There's Lisa. Hey, Lisa.
How you doing?
Hey, I didn't realize my camera was off. I must have moved it on accident.
You
Hello.
must have. Tilt down just a little more. Just a tiny bit more. I'm always trying to get people so we can get there. There we go. That's perfect. Lisa is a friend of the show who, well, anybody who's watched the show for a long time knows that she actually used to be one of the co-hosts of the program way back in the day at Progresso Radio down the dial.
You're so seriously improved with Peggy. She knows what you're talking about.
I don't think so. I don't think that's a problem. And I wanted to play something because I was going to play one of the other things. I should have played this before.
We want kale.
I should have had that while Michael Cameron was
Yeah.
on the show. But I wanted to play this because it's the holiday, and I get to play a few things, and I'm sort of relaxing now that we've gotten into the second part, and we haven't
Take a
had.
deep breath.
I want one of those.
That was working.
I want one of those brewskis from Michael
growler?
Cameron,
Or
a
a
growler.
howler?
Sure, why not? But in the meantime, all right, there we go.
Okay, who did that one?
That I would have to look that up. That's tagged on the end of something or other. But I'm going to ask you, Lisa, can you turn down your sound just a touch there? Because I think we're getting a little bit of feedback here, and just enough so you can hear me, not so much that it's coming back at us. And I think that will probably help a little bit. Lisa Albrecht is the proprietor of Albrecht Solar. She's also a board member of the Illinois Solar Energy Association. And you've been involved in solar issues for a long time. You were going to be with us last week, and as we know what happened then. I'm not even going to go into it anymore. But we're here to talk about what's happening in solar energy in Illinois, and it's not necessarily a good thing right now, is it?
Well, we have a problem because we've been too successful. So the industry, we passed amazing legislation. Actually, my Facebook reminded me that we had passed it December 9th, 2016. And here we are. It took us 2 years to then enact that legislation. And now,
And which
2 years after
legislation was that, Lisa?
it's called the Future Energy Jobs Act. And it opened the door to having a stable industry by creating an incentive that we had anticipated would be funded through 2024. However, the industry's been so successful that here we are 2 years in, and we no longer have any incentives. In fact, in the first 2 months of the program, we ran out of incentives for community solar, which is a new initiative in Illinois that's happening all across the country that's really exciting, where you are able to build large solar fields out in farms, perhaps land that they don't necessarily want to farm, or it's close to transmission lines, providing farmers with some constant and stable revenue. And then people like homeowners who might have too much shading, or people who are renters, or people who live in apartment buildings can subscribe to solar and have it be their energy source. So that ran out the first 2 months of the program.
2 months.
February, March of 2 months. In February, March,
And it was gone.
Let me stop you right there. Is it because the bill didn't anticipate the response to it, or what?
Well, we actually thought that we set wildly aggressive goals. And what we found out was that the marketplace was so hungry for solar that we way undershot. In fact, when the coalition that was working on the legislation put it all together, people kind of mocked the industry, saying, you guys can't get that done. And there were over 800 applications for community solar projects, and only 100 were approved. So those are being built right now. Two of them are actually online, which is really exciting. So that ran out in the first 2 months. In February, March of 2020, we ran out of commercial incentives. So anything larger than a 10 kilowatt system, which is roughly about 30 panels, 40 panels. That ran out in February, March of this year. And now today, the bucket for residential solar is likely gone. It was gone last week in the Ameren territory. ComEd will expire this week, or today rather. But it's just because
the
there's
renewable
been
energy
so much
credits.
demand. These are the renewable energy credits. Correct. And so we're at this strange place where we've been so successful, and now, despite bringing thousands of jobs that we promised, we're facing layoffs before Christmas.
And so here we are. we passed this wonderful law that's going to bring solar energy to Illinois. The community runs out very quickly. The residential, meaning if you want to put panels on your house and get some sort of credit for it so that you can find it affordable, that's running out. Where do we stand commercially with commercial solar?
Well, the commercial solar ran out in February, March of 2020. So that's already been gone. That's been gone for, the entire, almost practically the entire year.
Yikes.
Yeah.
So
that means there's potentially no new sales for solar in 2021. We can certainly put projects on a wait list. However, and the wait list will probably move. There will be projects that don't move forward for one reason or another. Maybe someone's financial situation changed and they're nervous about making that investment, or perhaps their roof doesn't pass a structural review by engineers. So there will be some movement on that, but a wait list is not a way to run a thriving industry.
Right.
No.
So Lisa, when you say it's out of money, if somebody were to just want to start a project, pay it all out of their own pocket, is that possible? Or who's not getting this money that would have been available?
Sure. Let me explain the program a little bit. So certainly people can purchase projects without having incentives. It happens, but it's rare. Most people are going to want, you're not going to walk into the Gap and say, hey, listen, I know you're having a sale right now, but I want to buy these jeans for full price. So people are going to want to have that incentive. And this is a large investment that people are making on their home. What happens with the renewable energy credit is it's not a handout, but it's a mandate for the state to reach its renewable energy goals, addressing addressing climate change. So the utilities in Illinois are not allowed to publicly own solar. So instead, what they do is they invest in what's called a renewable energy credit. So if you think of your home as a micro utility, you're producing the clean attribute of solar. So not the kilowatt hour itself, you get to make that power and use that power, but this is the clean attributes of that energy. And so Illinois passed legislation that requires utilities invest in solar in this manner. And so it would be as if you're, making socks and you don't get paid for one of them. So if you're as an investor in solar, you're actually making a product that has value to the community. And because of the lack of renewable energy credits, you're not getting paid for that value.
All right, so here we are at kind of a crossroads, and of course, the pandemic doesn't help with all of this and trying to get things passed, because there wasn't even a veto session in Springfield this fall, and yet there are a couple of bills out there that might help this situation and free up funds. That is to say, if the state has any funds, and this, all roads lead back to Washington at some point, because a lot of these states are not going to be able to move forward very well unless they're helped out with some sort of relief. Isn't that right, Lisa?
True, but I want to point out that this is a common misunderstanding about the legislation, is that the renewable energy credits, it is utility funded, not taxpayer funded. So these are not tax dollars coming out of Springfield. These are actually, if you look at your electric bill, we for years have been paying for energy efficiency efforts. So when that rebate that ComEd offers you to take away your old refrigerator, that's coming from your own bill. So that's a ratepayer based fee. That then gets reinvested into the community. So that's exactly how solar is funded as well, where there is this fund that comes from ratepayers. So these are ComEd dollars that are going back in, because it is ComEd who's being held to climate standards, ensuring that part of the distribution is clean energy. So we're displacing dirty energy and other places on the grid.
Well, I'm glad you explained that. So in that regard, the state doesn't have any responsibility at all. Has it put all on the utilities?
So yes, in a sense of who's paying for it, the state does execute the program and hold all of the various entities and stakeholders into account. So it's managed by the state agency called the Illinois Power Agency. They are the group that purchases all energy for Illinois, whether it's coal, nuclear, solar, wind, hydro. They manage everything.
All right.
So they manage the program, and then the funding actually comes through a ratepayer mechanism through both ComEd and Ameren.
So the idea is what has to happen now is free up more of that funding that's to come from the utilities. That is the goal here. And I'm aware of two bills that are being proposed. One is called the Clean Energy Jobs Act, and the other is called the Path to 100. And they, at some point, they want some of the same things, but they do it in different ways, from what I understand. Can you explain that, Lisa?
Yeah, so the Path to 100 is a very focused bill that was written by the solar industry, specifically addressing the mechanisms that we know from national experience, how to successfully navigate and correct the problem that Illinois is facing right now. And so our bill is very, very laser focused on just that issue and making sure that we're getting, keeping these solar jobs in place and getting solar deployed as rapidly as possible in the market. The Clean Energy Jobs Act actually has multiple pillars. It looks at clean transportation. It looks at additional energy efficiency standards. Both bills do have an equity piece looking at both jobs as well as availability of energy efficiency, solar, those types of programs that certainly those of us in our communities who struggle the most to make our bills will have the greatest impact on their household budget. If you're not bringing in a lot, but you are paying the same amount for your electric bill as someone in a wealthy community, then a much bigger proportion of your tax or your income is going towards utilities. So the Future Energy Jobs Act, the Clean Energy Jobs Act has a number of other pillars beyond just the solar aspect.
And that's where there is a little bit of controversy, because I know you're supporting the Path to 100. I mean, obviously you would love to have the Clean Energy Jobs Act go through, but at this point, as you said, the Path to 100 is a little more focused, and obviously you work in the solar industry, so this is you'd like to see this happen right away. You sent me some bullet points about it. You said that the Path to 100 would provide adequate funding to meet existing policy requirements. It would avoid the boom and bust by establishing stable policy for continued job growth. It would allow shovel-ready renewable energy projects to move forward, expand Illinois' renewable portfolio standard to 40% by 2030, create an estimated 21,000 new jobs, $2.8 billion in new property taxes over 20 years, and $1.95 billion in landowner payments over 20 years, create electric bill savings for community solar and distributed solar customers. We just talked about community solar, and expand successful programs encouraging a diverse and equitable workforce. Sounds like yay. So why can't we get that through?
Yeah. Well, part of the challenge of passing, and I just want to point out that list of bullet points are things that we've already proven we could do. So we've had 2 years of tremendous success. It's not as though we're just guessing we can do these things. We've already delivered these things. So what we're asking is to not stop us. Let us continue to grow. Without a fix, there will be no new funding until 2024, essentially icing the market.
Wow.
And we all know from climate change, we do not have 3 years to wait. So I
Plus,
just
all
want
those
to point
jobs
out
will
that
be gone.
all those jobs will be gone. And we've also invested a ton of money in educating people and putting them in these jobs, only to then in a very short period lay them off. And it's not as though they're going to sit around and wait for the industry. We'll lose a lot of that talent to other fields. So it's really, really unfortunate. But back to your question, if I can remember your question, I distracted myself.
Uh,
The exciting part is that we can achieve all of those things, but we just can't stop. With COVID, these were COVID-friendly jobs. We work outside, we stay distanced, we have on a mask. In the instance, like this week, I had a technical visit with one of my installers. I did not go in the home. We only sent one person in, fully masked, fully gloved, because we do need to go into people's homes to look at their electrical equipment. But we're going to try our best to minimize those risks. We ask people to wear a mask in their own house, keeping our workers safe as well. So, these are safe jobs that also, in the end, are keeping people's electric bills down. They're reducing the carbon emissions that the state has from purchasing dirty energy. And then all of those dollars are going back into our local community so that we can buy from our local restaurants, and we're keeping people employed. So it's really silly. We never should have reached this cliff. The challenge in Illinois is that energy policy is complex. There are many, many stakeholders, all the way up to Exelon, who owns the nuclear power plants, to the individuals who own the coal plants, to the unions who are working at the utilities on the grid lines, to the individual communities themselves. So one of the challenges in Illinois is that instead of just making one thing at a time, we seem to think we need to do the whole 9-course meal, whereas we could just work on the appetizer, which would be the solar legislation. So Path to 100 was a very sleek, quick, easy, executable legislation. It does not in any means mean that the solar industry is against the Clean Energy Jobs Act. Oftentimes people seem to put us at odds with each other, and it's not true. They're doing one thing with their piece of legislation. We're doing something different with ours. Both is possible. It's not an either or conversation. So that's actually one of my biggest pet peeves, is when we get pitted against each other as if I'm against electrification of transportation. I'm not. I just know from my own experience, my own company, I might not make a sale. I had 4 sales yesterday. I might not make another sale for 6 months.
So, all right, you are in favor of the path to 100. What is the path to 100?
How do we make it happen?
Yeah, do you have a lot of sponsors? Does it look like it can move forward when General Assembly gets back in session?
We're hopeful. In fact, we're even hoping that maybe something might pass in the lame duck session in January. So the governor's office has been leading the whole summer. There were every 2 weeks they were meeting to discuss one piece or facet of energy policy in the state. Last week there was a meeting to look at wind siting. So the governor's office has been very aggressive at looking at all of the aspects, but we're trying to keep people really focused that the time that we can no longer talk about the hypotheticals of solar crashing. It's happening right now, today.
It's here.
There is nothing left in the Ameren territory. There is nothing left in the ComEd territory. We've talked about this. We knew in February of 2019 that there would be this cliff, and we have fallen over the edge, and now we're desperately looking for a parachute. So the legislation is very simple. I think a lot of legislators know. We had a solar lobby day virtually, and where we were able to speak to over 100 legislative officials, and we've gotten tremendous support. There's solar in every single county, and so lawmakers know that it's affecting their constituents. So we have tremendous support. We just really need them to meet.
It seems odd that 4 years ago, as you say, we passed this wonderful law that puts solar on the map in Illinois, and as you say, now here we are. We're going to go off a cliff, and it could just stall completely. And it seems to me that it could undo a lot of what's been done in the past 4 years, or at least the past couple of years.
Yeah.
It could, because one of the biggest challenges that we've faced in the last 2 years is job training. There's more interest from homeowners and businesses than we actually have employed experienced workers. So we've spent the last 2 years creating that pool of people, giving them the experience on the roof, giving them experience designing, quoting systems, supporting them. And now we're just telling them, well, we'll see you whenever. We hope you come back. Thanks for learning. And now you're just out of luck a week before Christmas. So it's really frustrating. We've just invested, there's a whole piece, millions of dollars that were spent on job training, and those were taxpayer dollars. So it's really silly that we're at this point.
And even during the pandemic year, people have been interested in solar, and as you say, it's you can do the work because you do most of it outdoors, and people are being safe about it. But even you personally, I know you run Albrecht Solar. That's your company. Give you a ding there, um, two dings. Even you've done well this year. People are interested, and they're coming to you with projects.
Yeah, no, nationwide actually, and across the world, solar is still booming despite the pandemic, despite the economic downturn and uncertainty. People are looking, and this is. I also want to point out that solar is a bipartisan thing. This speaks very strongly to Republican values, personal independence, control of my own household, and so and then also the increasing urgency that people are feeling around climate change. So we're seeing a tremendous growth in solar. There was a slight downturn as we all tried to figure out, are we safe? How do we operate? And kind of increase those conversations for personal and community safety. But once we got it figured out, the entire industry worldwide has rallied and really has been a success story despite the pandemic.
Yeah. All right. So if folks want to learn more, obviously, one of the places they can go is the Illinois Solar Energy Association. And the website again for that, I know it's here someplace if I found it.
IllinoisSolar.org.
Right. IllinoisSolar.org. I also have links on my website, the blog post for today, to the Clean Energy Jobs Act, the Path to 100. You could check them out and look at both of those. Go ahead.
And can folks still sign up to win a Tesla?
Yes, I was actually just about to mention that, Peggy.
Oh,
yes,
okay.
we actually moved the Tesla. Normally we would be doing the Tesla raffle like right now. However, with the pandemic and everything else, we're like, you know what, let's just give ourselves some breathing room. So we're actually doing the drawing on Earth Day. So there's a few more months for people to go out and buy the Tesla. And, it's the number one funding source for the Illinois Solar Energy Association. And we do tremendous level. We actually have split our organization in half this year. We have a 501c3 and a 501c6. So we have one organization that is focused on Springfield and the works that we can do to advance solar across the state. But then we also have the C3, which is our education association that does a lot of work within the community to educate homeowners, as well as the job training piece and a number of other avenues of education that are required in the marketplace. So the Tesla drawing is the number one way of funding all of those activities.
Yeah, and it doesn't. You guys have been doing this for a while. We've done promos for it, PSAs for it. And when did you say the deadline is? I'm looking for it on the site there. Where do I?
It's Earth Day.
Earth Day.
It's Earth Day.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So go to IllinoisSolar.org if you want to try to win a Tesla. And I think, what is it, like $100 for a ticket? But if you're getting like an $80,000
$100 a ticket, or three tickets for 300, or four tickets for 300.
Right.
So you get a deal if you buy a packet.
And it's worth it to get an $80,000 car, isn't it?
And it's a great Christmas present. I've had customers in the past that have bought them as Christmas presents. So.
Yeah, and if folks want to contact you personally, Lisa, how do they do that?
Yeah, they can just try my email, which is Lisa at, now my email's a little tricky. It's Albrecht, ALLBRIGHT, .solar. Not a .com or a .org or .anything. I'm a .solar.
She's a
So Lisa at Albrecht.solar. I don't know anybody else who has it. I'm kind of jazzed about it.
That's so cool. That is, we need a dot something for this show. Dot enviro.
Green or dot. Yeah, I don't know.
There we go.
Let to work on your dot.
Dot green. I don't know, something like that. Lisa Albrecht, thank you so much. Always a pleasure to talk to you. I'm glad there are people paying attention to this, and I'm glad you're working this hard because obviously we need to stop pumping carbon into the atmosphere. And why not tap the energy of the sun? I mean, how crazy is that, really?
And you put your own
Crazy
roots to
talk.
work. It's like a part-time job you don't have to go to. So.
Yeah. Okay. We will talk real soon. You keep us posted because when things change and when you've got some movement on either one of these bills, let us know and we'll talk some more.
I'll definitely reach out if there's any actions as well that we're looking for people to take.
All right. That's Lisa Albrecht, and we are going to take a short break. And coming up, meteorologist Rick DeMaio.
Hello from Happy Leaf. This is BJ Miller, the horticulturist here on staff. Now that we've put away our gardens for the winter, it's time to start indoor gardening. The best way we can help you be successful with indoor gardening is to provide you with a really great grow light. There are a lot of choices on the market and it can be extremely confusing to decide what you need. Our goal here at Happy Leaf is to provide you with a light that lasts a very long time and makes your plants really happy. We have several satisfied customers, including our friends Mike Nowak and Peggy Malecki, because we have specifically designed a light that is versatile, it's very effective, and it is extremely simple to use. Our lights are perfect for seed starting, but you can do so much more, especially these months of the winter. You can supply yourself with your own leafy greens and herbs, grow lots of different types of vegetables, keep your small fruit trees thriving, and your houseplants will think you've sent them for a day at the spa.
At this time of year, we spend a lot of time indoors with our plants, so help them thrive. The plants you're viewing were treated with LeafZyme, a foliage spray designed to activate beneficial microbes already present on the leaves. A spritz every few weeks promotes growth-enhancing microorganisms that process dust and other particles into nutrition that indoor plants can absorb through their leaves for beautiful and vigorous growth. Go to blazing-star.com and check out their BioGarden line for home gardeners.
Collective Resource Compost wants to show you how they make composting easy in Chicagoland. You can reduce greenhouse gas emissions by diverting food scraps from landfills. CRC brings you a fresh 5-gallon bucket or a 32-gallon neighbor tote with each pickup. You fill it with organic matter, they swap it out, and get it to a commercial composting operation. Composting is what nature would do if we just got out of her way. Learn how easy it is to divert waste at your home, school, or workplace. Go to collectiveresource.us.
Everybody
Last Christmas I gave you my heart, but the very next day you gave it away. This year, to save it from tears, I gave it to someone special.
This is the only way that you can listen to this song. This is the only
That
way.
ain't George Michael.
Yeah. This might be the worst Christmas song ever written, and this is the way you do it.
Yet it's everywhere.
It is. Well, you just poke fun at it if you possibly can. Welcome to the Mike Nowak Show with Peggy Malecki. I believe Rick DeMaio. You're there, right, Rick?
We have a read though.
I know. Yeah, okay. I just want to make sure that that Rick is there, and we'll be with you in just exactly 1 minute, Rick. First, though, McHenry County College's Center for Agrarian Learning continues to create opportunities for folks to learn about growing food and working with the earth. In January, Atina Diffley, organic vegetable farmer and author of the award-winning memoir, Turn Here Sweet Corn Organic Farming Works, will be presenting 2 workshops of 2 sessions each. Both feature valuable skills for new and established farmers. The first is record keeping made easier, strategies and systems. You know, I could use that. I'm not even a farmer, okay? Anyway, that's on January 13th and 20th. The second is crop planning for market needs and profitability on January 27th and February 3rd. As part of your registration, you will receive either the Wholesale Success Manual or Direct Market Success Manual. an $80 value published by Family Farmed, which is supporting these workshops. And by the way, if the name Atina Diffley sounds familiar, she has been a guest on this show. She's wonderful. She knows her stuff. Go to mchenry.edu/CAL to find more information. That's mchenry.edu/CAL. Welcome back to the show. We have meteorologist Rick DeMaio on board. And
Good morning, Mike.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. Good morning, Peg. How are you guys?
Good morning. You're back from Florida?
Back from Florida. Got back on Monday. Tested negative before I left. Tested negative when I left. So I'm feeling, let's see, 2 negatives make a positive, right?
No.
Where did you get tested, by the way? I'm kind of curious. Isn't it?
Here, I got tested at North Shore Media Care. This is the 3rd time I've been tested. And then in Florida, it was a drive-up CVS.
Wow. It's so, I haven't paid enough attention to that because I haven't needed to get tested. But
what do you mean you haven't needed to get tested? You don't know that you need to get tested until you're sick, and then it's too late.
Well, I guess. But I don't go anywhere. So
yeah, but it's still a good idea.
Yeah,
it makes you feel better.
You know what? Maybe I will. Maybe I'll just do that.
It's your civic duty. It's like voting.
Getting tested. That's the new civic duty. Is that it?
I think so.
Okay. By the way, I don't know if you know, but I managed to get audio of the arguments made to the Supreme Court.
Really?
Oh yeah, yeah.
All 28 words?
Yeah. Here's the audio. No, it's only 30 seconds long, and I think you were able to hear the commercial and the music coming out, right?
Oh yeah.
All right. So here's the audio that the Giuliani people made to the Supreme Court.
But listen, it's a contract, isn't it?
Oh, sure.
We've got a contract, no matter how small it is.
Hey, wait. What does this say here, this thing here?
That's the usual clause. That's in every contract. That just says, if any of the parties participating in this contract are shown not to be in their right mind, the entire agreement is automatically nullified.
Well, I don't know.
It's all right. That's in every contract. That's what they call a sanity clause.
Everybody knows there's
You can't fool me. There ain't no sanity clause.
Mike, it's amazing that you played that because I played that entire 4-minute and 33-second YouTube clip from my parents when I was down in Florida. That's from Night at the Opera.
Oh my goodness! Yes, it is, and I just love that bit. And it made me think that that's kind of probably the argument that was going on at the Supreme Court. That's how much sense it made.
You should post it because in the beginning, Chico says something like, "What's a duplicate?" And Groucho goes, "It's a family of 5 kids up in Canada." He goes, "I don't know. I haven't been in Canada for years." And they just go on and on about which part of the contract you should read and which part should be ripped out. And it starts out like 4 feet long and ends up being about 1.5 inches long at the end.
Yeah, I know. And he's got
one of the classic
he just keeps
bits.
tearing the paper apart.
It's brilliant. He just keeps going, "Oh, I don't know. I don't like that part either." And he rips it out. And they just keep literally ripping it out until there's nothing done.
There's like a postage stamp left.
Well, it's really funny. It's really funny.
Well, we look like so I guess you and I are on the same page in terms of holiday traditions here. So there you go.
Our level of humor is quite low, but yet it lasts 80 years, right?
Amazing. Yeah, it's still funny.
Oh, God,
Speaking
yeah.
of holiday traditions.
Yeah.
Before we get to the end of the show, we have to talk about what we're doing next Sunday.
Oh, yeah. Well, we could do that right now real quick. Rick, next week we're doing my annual It's a Wonderful Slice of It's a Wonderful Life, which is, of course, the entire movie done in 10 minutes. And
or 11 if we're in giggling.
It'll probably be more like 14 minutes, but it goes by pretty fast. And we have a special guest star next week. Well, we have several guests. All right. We have several guests that are going to be part of it. Ron Cowgill from Mighty House Home Improvement Radio, Rich Cowgill from Mighty House Home Improvement Radio, Kayla Delia Reconquista, who is currently our intern will be playing some roles. Ellie Sanchez, who is our former intern, will be playing some roles. And last but not least, we have
Drum roll.
very special guest star, Melinda Myers, horticultural expert, worldwide horticultural expert, said, I don't know why, but she said, yes, I will play some roles.
She's a glutton for punishment.
She really is. So, and I will warn you, we're going to record it during the week. We're not going to do it live because just too much could go wrong, which would actually be pretty funny. But we're going to record it. We're going to Zoom it this week and play it next week, and it should be a blast. So tune in next Sunday for the annual It's a Wonderful Slice of It's a Wonderful Life. So there's our plug for next week. Thank you for reminding me of that, Peggy. Now, guess what? We're heading into winter, meteorological and figuratively as well, considering, or compared to the weather we've had recently, Rick.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. We started out the month almost 5 degrees above normal. Then we had a couple of days last week where people were actually out playing golf. And part of it was due to the fact that not only were we, 55 to 60 degrees on Thursday, but the ground's been really dry. And when you have dry soil this time of the year, it's amazing. Not only has it been dry, but there hasn't been any real permanent, really super cold overnight low temperatures. So there's not a lot of even frost below the top 2 or 3 inches of soil. And I think that's one of the reasons why the sun has been able to warm the ground and the ground has been able to warm, the lower part of the atmosphere. And it's interesting to note the 2 days that we got into the 50s, the forecast models were about 5 degrees off, even 24 hours out, meaning that they were thinking that, the basis of the forecast model is to show climatologically ground temperatures are 32 degrees. And therefore, the amount of sun coming in is going to have to really do a lot of work to warm the ground and then re-radiate back into the atmosphere. So the high today will be 52. But because we've been so dry, the ground's been able to soak up a lot of sun, rewarm the atmosphere, and that's one of the reasons why 2 days in a row, if you were watching the forecasts on TV, they were all almost 5 degrees off both days because they were probably just going, hook, line, and sinker with the models. But one of the things to be good at, no, I'm serious.
Well, I love the way you say that. It's like, and it makes a lot of sense, is that a meteorologist can't just look at the models and spew that out. You have to analyze them too.
Right. Well, you got to analyze how well the forecast models are doing, upstream the day before. And there's only one person I actually see do this from time to time. And I don't watch a lot of TV, but Mike Kaplan on Fox in the morning will actually remove the forecasted number from the graphic that the computer is showing, and he'll put his own number in there. He's the only one that does it, and then actually says that he does it, because he'll say, now, if this number looks a little fuzzy here, that's because I don't agree with the computer model. It's going to be about 3 to 4 degrees warmer. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, we had a high of 57 on Thursday, full sunshine. Yeah. The ground was warm. The ground was dry. And the normal high is 36, and the record was 62. I mean, when you get within 5 degrees of the record, on the 10th of December, that's pretty amazing stuff. Now, I didn't go back and look at where we stood from a standpoint of how many days on the 10th of December we were that warm, but I'm sure it's probably in the top 3 or 4. And that's pretty noteworthy.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's it was a remarkable day. Yeah. And it's not now. And last 2 days.
Oh no. But I mean, you think about it, yesterday in a normal winter, that would have been 8 to 12 inches of snow. Easily. Yeah. And what happens go on, Peg.
I was going to say, I look at Facebook photos from 2 or 3 years ago where we had snow and ice already.
Oh, yeah. I think you go back to 2016 and we had just an awful December. 2014, or say 2013, we had nearly 30 inches of snow during the month. Again, back in 2008. So it may not be so much the 1st or 2nd of the month, but you get into the 12th or 13th, and you got a lot of snow on the ground. And obviously when the snow occurs, you end up cooling off at night. You lay down that level of reflective, surfaces that the sun's not going to have any chance warming the atmosphere. And even though we missed out on the snow, we got 1.5 inches of rain. The fact that the ground was not frozen, think about that. In the normal December, if that ground would have been frozen with 1.5 inches of rain, we would have had flooding yesterday. Did we have any flooding yesterday? None. Think about that. 1.5 inches of rain soaked up into the soil like it was almost late October. And again, these
so dry.
Yeah, exactly, Peg. And not only that, it's been dry, but it's been warm, so the soil hasn't really gotten compacted yet. So whatever rain that fell yesterday, oh my God, this is great for the plants and the shrubs that were planted probably in the last month of the growing season.
Well, even the whole year, anything you planted this year, if you put a new tree in this year or a new shrub, and we've been warning folks through the second half of the year because we had so many dry spells, even going into the fall, that you had to pay attention. This was, as you say, Rick, excellent for those plants.
Oh yeah. And what was interesting too, Mike, is that if you tried to do like golf near me, all the courses were full on Thursday. I mean, you could probably get out and play maybe 9 holes if you were able to, get like a 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock tee time, but you had to finish up at 4. And think about these golf courses who are trying to shut down so they can get some of their maintenance done before it does get snowy. I mean, they're looking at the calendar going, we really need to shut down so we can kind of get the stuff that we need to get done before we can't do it. So I think once we reach that, cold day on Friday, and it was nasty yesterday, they're probably looking at the next 3 or 4 or 5 days as going, finally we can get some late season prep work done, because we're sure it's not going to be nice enough we would actually open up and allow people on where we have to pay them, or where they have to pay us, or at least charge them. So I think officially the golf season ended on Friday in the Chicagoland area.
We'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Well, you're the meteorologist.
The club. It just means that there's no flag on the green, Peg.
Yeah, but what I was going to say is you're the meteorologist, Rick. You tell us whether the golf season officially ended, because are we in a weather pattern change?
Yeah, I think what's happened really is that we've finally begun to pull in some of the cold air to the north and west, and with that happening, we're now beginning to show signs of at least a little bit of some polar air masses up across Canada. We did have a fairly good snow across areas of Iowa, Wisconsin, and parts of Michigan. But again, we had that also in late October, November, and you're thinking, whoa, this is not good, because this could lead to some, early season polar outbreaks. And it didn't. It got warm, the snow melted. And up until, Friday, there was absolutely no snow in the upper Midwest. I think we were looking at about a 6% coverage compared to about 22% this time last year. So these are the things that we're seeing more and more of, is these bookend months of the winter season, December and February, becoming more and more variable from a standpoint of warmth, rain, snow that comes in early, snow that melts. But it does look like the pattern tries to get at least somewhat near normal over the next probably 10 to 15 days, but still nothing in the way of any significant Arctic cold coming back at us anytime soon.
Uh-oh.
Hey, it's not my dog for once.
Yeah, that's my... Hold on.
This never happens on CNN.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does these days.
Yeah, I guess it does. It actually does. It's not a big deal.
That's my dog bell.
Your dog bell?
I call it my dog alarm. Yeah.
Oh, the
Yeah,
dog alarm. Okay.
Whenever he sees something walk by, he has to let them know that he's here. So
Yeah, of course.
yeah.
So you're saying you were starting to say, but nothing in the way of you were talking about the pattern change, but
Snow
and cold. Your question.
Okay, let me cut to the chase here. Are we going to have a white Christmas?
You know what? At this point, I would say no, and that's only because even if we do get some snow on the ground, there's a fair amount Yeah. Are
The
you?
sleigh
Is that,
bells will
is that
just be
the-
sleigh bells.
That's Peggy. Come on, show the sleigh bells. She's got the sleigh bells there.
is that the end of It's a Wonderful Life, Peg? Is that what
Now,
you're doing?
we might throw it in there. Who knows?
No, I was just doing the sleigh bells. If we're not having the white Christmas, we'll just, we'll be not hearing them in the background, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. It's interesting. Speaking of the movie It's a Wonderful Life, here's Donna Reed, playing this perfect housewife, playing this, librarian, this old maid, and then 4 years later, she wins an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress in the movie From Here to Eternity. And what does she play? She plays a prostitute.
Well, there you go. That's Hollywood for you.
Kind of versatile, huh? That should have been Violet's role, right? Anyway.
Why this old thing?
Yeah, right.
Well, when I don't care how I look.
From what I can see right now, there's a couple of big cyclones that are moving through the area, and most of them are probably going to be moving from the west to the east, which means that we're going to have rain on the front side and snow on the back side. And there are some signs by the 24th to the 25th that there's a pretty decent storm coming through, which could give us, some snow, maybe not a lot, but definitely somewhere in the range of maybe 2 to 4 inches. So if I was a betting man at this point, I would say that there's a better than 50-50 chance of us having snow on the ground for Christmas. Not a lot, but definitely some.
You heard it here. Rick DeMaio says a better than 50-50 chance of snow for Christmas. This must be a tough year for you to do your forecasts for the plowing people. The plowing people aren't doing nothing right now in Chicago.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not doing it for them this year. They've decided that, that's okay. They've decided that they've gone into a mode of not as many customers, and they basically said the pandemic has killed us, so we're going to shoot from the hip this year. So we'll see if that works out for them. But I was waiting in the wings for one of those errant phone calls or texts saying, all right, so just give me like the skinny on what's going to happen around here. And it would have been like, all right, how much?
Yeah, let's make a deal.
Usually we sign a contract way ahead of time, but we're not doing that this year, and that's okay. I got many of the things still going on. So
well, you do a lot of teaching. Are you still working with the airlines?
Working with the airlines in what capacity?
Oh, well, you have done forecasts for them. I know you also just wrote a book that.
Oh yeah. Oh, well, I think
I was going to ask how your book is.
Yeah, the book is. I'll be working on that for about 4 or 5 hours today because I'm doing some edits for the second edition, which is going to be used for this coming spring. But no, the stuff that I was doing for the airlines was more so for the airport. It wasn't really for the airlines; it was for the airport, and that was through the snow plow company. We were providing forecasts for them for all the gates at O'Hare and Midway. But the stuff that I did when I was at United Airlines, that was stuff that you provided them from a standpoint of de-icing aircraft. That's much different.
Yeah.
Plowing is one thing; de-icing is a whole nother science to that. But again, interesting to say the least. That's kind of like where we're going, but. I did want to talk about a couple of quick things here.
Well, before you do that, can I? Because I know there are going to say, what book? Could you just briefly explain what your book is?
Oh, all right. You know me; I don't like to talk about it much, but
I know you don't.
I wrote a textbook called Aviation Meteorology, and it's used for both my classes that I teach at community college, Intro to Weather. And I also use it at Lewis University. So it's 23 chapters. It's separated into 2 parts. So the first part basically deals with, all the different, properties and physical constructed, mechanisms that go into the difference between, meteorology and weather, because meteorology is a science of the atmosphere and weather is the result of meteorological occurrences happening in different parts of the world at different times of the year. And then you apply it to aviation, and it's a whole nother world, because that's what we do in the second chapter, where we do it from a standpoint of icing, turbulence, thunderstorms, hazardous weather conditions, operational meteorology at airports, what air traffic controllers have to know, what flight dispatchers have to know, what pilots have to know, what aviation administrators have to know, basically people who run an airport. And it's been my baby. I've been working on it now for about 2 years. It's completely online. And, you know, something like this is never really done. It's a work in progress. Right. But I'm hoping that when it's completely 99.9% complete, then we push it nationwide. And I'm hoping to get it out to about 30 to about 35 aviation schools. And
Cool.
that would be
Nice.
That would be nice, because then I can slow down on my teaching and just manage the book and, you know, make sure that it's doing what it's supposed to do, which is educate people in a classroom setting that has become very different over the last year and a half due to the pandemic.
Apparently. And you said you had two things you wanted to discuss briefly. We've got, like 3 or 4 minutes left.
Yeah. Well, we just finished with the AMS Planning Committee. So I'm on the Planning Committee for the American Meteorological Society annual conference. So I'm on the board of higher ed. And one of the things that we had to do was switch the meeting over to completely virtual. It normally is at either a major city like Boston, Seattle, Houston, Austin, Phoenix. This year was going to be in New Orleans, and it's not. So it's completely virtual. So we're going to be conducting our meetings online. And that in itself was a bear to try to make that all work. But I think it'll be really interesting, Mike, for you to have the person that I'm going to be doing a session with. We're co-chairs, and she is a professor of climate and climate change from Central Michigan University. And her name is Daria. I forget her exactly how to pronounce her last name. It's like Claudier. But I can send you the information.
Yeah,
great. That would be wonderful.
Yeah, we'll have you guys on together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's in Central Michigan, and she's wonderful because we've kind of communicated back and forth. And her main focus is climate change in the Great Lakes, and it's really neat because one of the great things about the AMS is that you're not only working with people, but you get to kind of work with them on an intimate level where you're sharing ideas about why science is doing what it's doing, how to promote the science. And one of the things that we're doing, oh God, Dax, one of the things that we're doing, the session is how to continue to teach and teach effectively beyond the classroom. And it's been really a challenge for all of us.
Yeah.
And that's basically what most of the conference will be on.
Cool. All right.
Yeah.
Great.
Good stuff.
All right. You got a forecast for us?
Yeah. So obviously some clouds today. This is the back end, or I say the north end of a system moving through the Central Plains. Could be some snow across areas of Kansas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Missouri. We're generally going to be right around normal for the next 7 days. The next chance of really any snow over us, I'm going to kill my dad.
He's just participating.
That's right. He likes your forecast. Uh-oh. Door's closed.
Uh-oh. Brother.
Well, that's okay.
Right.
Mine's whining on the front porch saying, "Can you come out now, please?"
Sorry about that.
It's okay.
So generally a little bit of snow coming at us on Wednesday, but that's going to stay south of us. We stay dry for the next 7 days. In fact, next Saturday, which is our next significant chance of precipitation, believe it or not, is going to be in the form of rain. That's right, rain.
Okay.
So once we get that system through, the next one that comes through is going to be in the form of snow, and that'll be probably on the 21st to 22nd, and then it looks like maybe some snow for us on Christmas Eve. So nothing real big, nothing real cold. The La Nina pattern that we're in is still kind of weak, but more than anything, as long as these systems keep coming in from the Pacific Ocean and the Pacific Ocean remains warm, I don't see anything Arctic coming at us until maybe the middle of January at this point.
Okey poke. Well, Rick, have a great week. Thank you so much. And continued good work on your book. And we'll talk to you next Sunday.
Sounds good. Take care, guys.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye. And there we go. Let's do this.
Real butter.
Yeah, let's throw that in there too.
Why not?
What? And or maybe this one.
Real butter.
Okay. I want to thank everybody on the show today. Wow, Marty Travis and Michael Cameron and Michael Roper and Lisa Albrecht, of course, Rick DeMaio, Kayla and Kathleen helping out. And don't forget,
all the dogs and cats. And
all the dogs and cats. And don't forget, next Sunday, It's a Wonderful Slice of It's a Wonderful Life. Until then, go green or
go home.
Stadler?
Yeah, what?
Is that it?
Yes, it's over. How'd you like it?
I don't know. I slept through the whole thing.
Well, you didn't miss much.